In this video, I will be trying to explain to you how to figure out the acid name if you are given the formula. So let's start because I only have 5 minutes. I recommend that you memorize these phrases right here because they will really help you to figure out quick the name and save time. So the first phrase is my ride has hydraulics. So anything that ends in "ide," you put hydro, then blank, then ic. So that's for the first one. So anything, if you're given a formula that does not contain an O, for example, HBr, see, HBr does not contain an oxygen. Any formula you're given that does not contain an O, you automatically put this right here, the hydro space, then ic.
I'll do more detailed examples, but this is just explaining this part right here. So the second one, in your formula, if you are given this formula, HNO3, so you have to be familiar with the polyatomic ions. If you don't know what they are, this is the polyatomic ions. Basically, there's ate and ite. So this one right here is HNO3. HNO3. What is HNO3? If you look at it, what is NO3? NO3 is 8. So if your formula contained 8, you would go for this phrase. I ate something icky. So this tells you that if you had HNO3, we know that NO3 is 8 by looking at the polyatomic ions sheet. That means you're going to be using this, basically a blank, then ic at the end. You put the name of whatever thing you're given. Here is nitrate, so it's going to be nitric. And you put it right here. So let's go to the other one. The other one is literally the same thing as the 8, but the difference is that it's ite. So if we look at the polyatomic ion sheet, we see nitrate and nitrite. So if you're given NO2 instead of NO3,
you would be using this formula right here. Instead of ic at the end, you would have OUS. So what we can see from this is that any formula that does not contain an O, for example this H3N, it does not contain an oxygen, you would use this. So this is pretty easy. Any formula that does not contain oxygen, you use this. But in the second one, the other two, these two right here, are also easy, but they're kind of tricky than the, what is it called? It's not straightforward like my ride has hydraulics. So basically, any formula that contains an O, like HNO3, if you see that it contains an O, you immediately think these two right here. And if I have time, I will explain to you like how to differentiate if it's ite or ate. Okay, so let's start by showing you examples for the first one. Or I'll give you the formula and you guess. Is it 1, 2, or 3? Make this. So let's see this one right here. I have this. I think I already used it, but I'll use it again. H3N. Which one out of these are you going to use? My ride has hydraulics, I ate something icky, or Sprite is delicious. I look at it and I see that there's no oxygen, there's no O. So immediately I put my mind into the my ride has hydraulics phrase. So I'll use it right here. I already have it written down. So this would be, after you figure out that it's going to be in this format and the hydro blank ic, you focus on this. This one right here is nitride. It's nitride. You drop down the ide and you only put the NITR. So it's going to be hydronitric. All right, let's continue from where we left off. So we discussed that if the formula given to you does not contain an O, then you go to here and you use the hydro blank ic. And if the formula contains an oxygen, then you would have to find out if it's ate or ite. All right. I'll just give a quick example for the, I'm not going to tell you what is it. I'm going to let you guess, just like to see if you know what you're doing so far. Okay, let's say you are given HF. Let's say you are given this formula, HF. Based on what I previously told you, what do you think out of those three, 1, 2, or 3, which one will you use? Hydro, blank ic, or blank OUS? So OUS. So because it does not contain an oxygen, you would go for this one right here.
Good job. You probably got it right. So you would go to here, hydro blank ic. What is this one right here? If you go to the periodic table, it's right here.
So you focus on this after you find out that you're going to be using that because it does not contain does not contain an oxygen, my bad. So this would be
FLUORIDE. So what you do is you drop out the ide. Okay, don't forget that. You drop it out. So this would be FLUOR. So it would be hydrofluoric acid. That would be the name of it. Okay, so we got this out of the way because I think it's the easiest one out of all, is which one, like, to find out the ones without an oxygen. If the formula does not contain an oxygen, you just do this right here and drop out the ide from the name. So this one is pretty easy. Let's go to the harder ones, which is these. So let's say you are given H2SO4. H2SO4. It has an oxygen, so we know it's not the first one. We know it's that. It's not this. So delete this from your head if you see an oxygen. You don't need to do the hydro. It's not this. So it's either this or this. So how do we know if it's 8 or 8? Like, how do we know if we use this right here or if we use this right here? So what you do is you look at this right here. You look at SO4. So what is SO4? Is it sulfate or is it sulfite? You can either memorize it or you can use the polyatomic ion sheet. So we go to here and we see that sulfite is SO3. So that's not the one we're looking for. We're looking for sulfate. We're looking for SO4. So SO4, it's this one right here, SO4. SO4 is sulfate.
Sulfate. See, it's sulfate. It has an 8. So what does that mean? That means I will be using this. I ate something icky. So a blank, then ick. So this would be
You just put, what is it called? You just drop down the 8. You're not going to put sulfate ick. That's not going to be it. So it's going to be SULFU. Oh my god, I can't. UR. Basically, it's going to be sulfuric acid. So we found out that it contained an O. So it had to be one of these two. And we looked at the polyatomic ion sheet and we found out it's an 8. That's why it's sulfuric. So after giving an example for 8, which was HNO3, I'll give an example for, no, it was H2. It was H2SO4, which we found out that it has an oxygen, so it's one of these two. And we looked at here, and it's SO4 is sulfate, so it's an 8. So we use this right here. Okay, I'll just give an example for this right here. So if you're given SO3 instead of SO4, so it has an O, so it's not this. It's either this or that. It's either the 8 or 8. How do you know if it's 8 or 8? You look at it right here. You look at the SO3. SO3. We go to the polyatomic ions. SO3. We found it right here. What is it? It's sulfite.
So sulfite. So it's an ITE, and it's this right here. So if it's SO3 and you find out that it's ite, you use this right here. So it's going to be the same exact thing as the other one, except that at the end, except that you add the OUS, sulfurous acid. So, all right, so we're done with this. Now I'm just going to give you guys formulas, and I'll give you guys some time to figure out which one of these and also name them. You can just pause the video too. Okay, so the first example is HCl. HCl. So is it 1, 2, or 3? All right, so this one is right here. Why? Because it does not contain an oxygen. So I immediately know that it's going to be hydro. So it's going to be, oh, HY. I have bad handwriting, but it's all right. Hydro, ick. All right, so what do we put in the middle right here? So you look at this, which is chloride. You drop down the IDE, and you put the CHLOR. So it's hydrochloric acid. All right, so let's go for another example. Let's say you get HI. Hi. Let's say you get this one right here. So which one is it? Is it 1, 2, or 3? Is it 8, 8?
Or ide. Doesn't contain an O, so it has to be this. Cancel these. Cancel these. So it's going to be hydro blank ick. What is I in the periodic table? I is iodine right here.
So it's iodide. So that's, you drop down this and you put IOD. So it's hydro, the formula for this, hydroiodic acid. So yeah. Let me give you another example. So this one is H2S. So which one of these? It does not contain an oxygen, so it's definitely this one right here. So it's going to be hydro, which, what element is this? You can go and look at the periodic table. So the formula, the name of it will be hydro SULFUR. It's going to be hydrosulfuric acid. So the next example is H3P. O PO3.
It contains an O, so it's definitely not this one right here. So it's either this, the ith or 8. We go to the polyatomic ions, and we search for PO3. PO3 is phosphite.
So it's phosphite. Phosphite. So it's an ite. So we're going to be using how to write it down. We know it has to end in OUS. So you write the first bit of phosphorus. If you go to the periodic table, that's the element. So it's PHOS. PHOROUS. So it's going to be phosphorus, basically. I think it's only for sulfur and phosphorus, where you add, for phosphorus you add OR, and for sulfur you add UR. So it's going to be sulfuric, you know? And this is going to be phosphorus acid. Anyway, you got that right, whoever is doing it with me. Oh, man. Okay, the second example is this one, H3P. It does not contain an oxygen, so it's this. So you're gonna put, so this is phosphide.
It's going to be hydrophosphoric acid. I'll give you another example really quickly. I'll give you, it's already right here, but you know what? I'll give it. HNO3. It contains an oxygen, so it's not this. So what is NO3? NO3 is 8.
It's nitrate. 8 is this right here, so it's going to be nitric acid.
I'll give one more example before it ends. Let's use H. And let's just use HNO2. It has an oxygen, so it has to be one of these. You go to polyatomic ions. Which one's NO2? It's I. Wait, it's right here. It's ite. So since it's ite, it should be NOS. So NITROUS. I hope you find this helpful, and yeah, goodbye.